Hello and welcome to another episode of My Favourite Game from the Honest Football Podcast.
On the show this week, we've got the brilliant coach, Ali. Ali has been on our show before. She has taken part in our coaching series. Should definitely go and check that out as a brilliant episode as well. But today, Ali's going to talk to us about her as a fan and as a football player. I don't want to reveal too much, but Ali is a Spurs fan, so we talk quite heavily about last season. And also, Ali has played football, obviously, in the women's game. So we talk about that and we hear about a few cracking goals that she scored and just the sort of journey of maybe playing football a bit later in life, really. And it's a fantastic story. So I won't reveal too much, but I'm really excited to share this episode with you. Give Ali a follow. You can hear all about her sort of social media places and where to find her in the episode. It is a brilliant episode and, yeah, enjoy.
And don't forget, if you'd like to be part of this favourite game series, just give us a message at Honest Football 3.
So hello and welcome to another episode of My Favourite Game. We've actually got a returning guest, which is our first ever one, so hopefully we didn't scare you off before. We've got Coach Ali, also known as Ali Speechley. So Ali was on a few weeks ago and we had a fantastic in-depth conversation about football coaching, various levels of the football pyramid. So if you haven't checked that out, please do. That'll be in the notes below. But Ali, thank you very much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you coming to talk to us about your favourite football match.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
So Ali, the first question we ask everyone is basically where your sort of love of football began. I know you mentioned it briefly in terms of you as the football coach, but I imagine, just from talking to you and how passionate you are about football, that it must have started before you sort of became a football coach. So yeah, just tell us about your footballing journey and where that sort of led you to and who you support now, etc. Really.
Yeah, so I have loved football for as long as I can remember. I feel like everyone says that, but it's true. I've got photographic evidence. So there's a photo of me playing football when I was about 5 years old.
Right.
In a garden. I don't even think it's my back garden, but and I'm in my summer dress and my little shoes, and I'm still just running around kicking a ball unfortunately, what I've actually cropped out of the photo, bless him, is my twin brother.
Right.
So my twin brother Chris is with me, and we're kicking a ball about. And I basically loved football since I was about 4 or 5 years old. I used to play at primary school in the lunchtime, and then I wasn't allowed to play for the school team because I was a girl, unfortunately.
Right.
And then secondary school, I went to an all-girls school and played hockey because we didn't really have football. We tried to start a team, but there were never any other girl teams for us to play, and they wouldn't let us play the boys. I think mainly because they were just the social embarrassment of being beaten by a girls team. I think is what scared them off.
I've been that side of it a couple of times, and I wasn't a bad footballer as a kid. And yeah, there's no coming back from that, to be honest. So in some ways, they're probably prevention rather than actually, being at the hands of it.
So they didn't let us play any boys' teams. So hockey was more my thing at secondary school.
Right.
And then at university, I didn't join the team. I don't think I really had the confidence to do it. I think I felt I hadn't played properly before. I just felt a bit intimidated. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't literally until I was 30 years old that I was having a kickabout with some colleagues in the park after work one day. And these 2 Canadian girls ran over and asked me to come and try out for their team on Clapham Common.
Oh, okay.
And so I was a bit like, what, me? And they were like, yeah, come and try out. And I went, and it was such a beautiful moment for me to see other women playing football. Yeah. Because I didn't even realise it was a thing. And I was 30 years old, and I didn't realise it was a thing that all these women had playing football this time. Yeah. Because it just hadn't been a thing when I was younger.
Well, I think we mentioned that before, didn't we? That really, it was only the very, very big games that would be on the TV, and the exposure, I suppose, for women's football. I know it's boomed recently, but it was quite limited, wasn't it? Probably. Yeah. When we were growing up, in that sense. So yeah.
Yeah, and we talked before about not underestimating the power of seeing someone like you doing something you want to do. And I'd never seen it before, and then it was there in front of me on Clapham Common, and I ended up playing with this team called Clapham Kicks for 3 seasons, and every Sunday, we would turn up, and there'd be all these women's teams playing football, and it was amazing, and I loved it. And then that's kind of how I got into coaching through that, which I talked about last time. But in terms of me as a fan, so I am a Spurs fan for my sins. I can't be accused of glory hunting.
No.
There has been limited glory in my lifetime. I'm from South East London. I'm from Lewisham in South East London. So by right, I should be like Palace, Charlton, Millwall. And I'm a Tottenham fan for a really bizarre reason.
Go on then. What is that? Yeah, go on.
It's got nothing to do with football.
Right. Okay. That's even more intriguing. Yeah, that's the sort of stuff we want on here. Go on.
Except it has, because obviously, as I always say, football is like anything. It's about people. And it's got a lot to do with people. So basically, I've got a twin brother, as I said, and when we were about 7, 8 years old, we've got 3 older sisters.
Yeah.
And they're about 6 years older than us.
Right.
And so when we were about 8 years old and my sisters were teenagers, one of my sisters really fancied this boy who was a massive Spurs fan. and in fairness to her as well, like she was quite a big Gary Lineker fan. And because this was all around, so I was born in 1982.
Right.
Believe it, it's true.
I was about to say,
no one ever believes me. No one ever believes me.
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, I've got to be careful the way I word it. But yeah, no, I'm not. I wouldn't believe that. But yeah, go on, carry on.
But yeah, and so one of my earliest memories about sort of football was actually Italia 90. It was the 1990 World Cup. So in fairness to my sister, it wasn't all because of this boy. Like, she was a Gary Lineker fan as well, but so obviously a Spurs connection. But she basically decided that she was going to support Tottenham. And so me and my brother were like, well, obviously we're going to follow suit.
Yeah.
So I started supporting Spurs when I was 8 years old because my sister did, and it stuck ever since.
Right. So in terms of that, then obviously going through from sort of being a Spurs fan, you know, you had the 90s, which was a fairly, what's the politest way of putting it? Roller coaster-ish, sort of, in the sense of, you know, some cracking players, Gaza, you know, Gary Lineker getting to the FA Cup finals, etc. And then probably a bit more, you know, with all due respect, then there was a you know, Christian Gross in charge. You know, there's been quite a tumultuous time, really, to be a Spurs fan in the 90s, wasn't it, really, in that sense?
Yeah. And I think also it's probably worth mentioning as well, like, so to this day I still don't have like Sky Sports or BT Sport.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, we
keep that revolution going as well.
Keep the radio alive. No,
exactly. Yes. Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
So we didn't have those channels growing up. So I remember watching. I can't even remember what it was called, but there was this program that used to be on Channel 4 that was like all about Italian football.
Gazzetta Italia, that was it.
Right.
You had James Richardson, the fellow. He used to have like a pink newspaper, didn't he? And he was I remember that. Yeah,
so that was basically the beginning of my football education.
Yeah. Because
I just used to watch that on this tiny TV screen, in like my mum's bedroom.
Yeah.
And because we had a bigger TV, but no one else wanted to watch that.
No, I mean, to be honest,
not even my brother. No.
The thing was, Italian football back then, though, that was like probably the way that maybe even the English Premier League is viewed now, isn't it? And it was like the pinnacle of European football. Because, I mean, to be honest, I never really liked.
It was the business.
Yeah, I never really liked.
I remember loving the screaming of the commentators.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, go, lads. Yeah, that was it. Because to be honest, I never, I wasn't I didn't really follow a particular club. But when Gaza went to, because I used to adore Paul Gascoigne. He was, you know, he's still this day the best footballer I've ever seen.
What a legend!
When he went to Lazio, you know, he sort of, I sort of became a second-hand Lazio sort of fan, and then went to Rangers, etc. But that period of the 90s, and you had like David Platt at Sampdoria. There was just some of the best players in the world were there. Baggio, people like that. So yeah, I don't think it was the worst education to have, but obviously it's quite a difficult one to relate to when it's in a different part of the country. And
also because I am part Italian as well.
Right.
So my grandmother is Italian, and so. Because, you know, until, if we're honest, relatively recently, well, apart from 66, obviously, when I wasn't alive, but until relatively recently, England haven't been that great.
No.
England men, I should say, haven't been that great in terms of World Cups, and so I always used to like claim dual heritage.
I was about to say,
World Cup used to roll around.
You mentioned at the beginning you went to Glory Hunter, Ali, and I'm starting to doubt that a little bit because we've sort of gone from Italy in their pomp to no, I'm joking, when they got to the World Cup final, etc. But yeah, that's just coincidence, isn't it? Anyway,
in fairness, I think the main no, it's true. You've exposed me immediately.
No.
On a global stage now, right? Your audience for your podcast can go anywhere on the internet, you know.
I was about to say, I wouldn't call this global, to be honest. It is, but yeah. No, go on, you were saying, go on.
No, so what I was going to say is, in fairness, I did stand by England, but they didn't qualify for USA.
No.
So I then did support Italy during that one tournament. And then what I've always maintained is that I'll support England until they go out. And if Italy is still in it when England go out, then I'll support Italy.
Right, as long as you don't put on like an accent or something after that, I think that's
and then I suddenly just become Italian. But Italian 90s, like probably some of my earliest like memories of, apart from watching the sort of Sunday football, of watching kind of a tournament. That's definitely the first World Cup I remember. And my most vivid memory is of having to go to bed, my cruel mother. So I was like 8 years old, and well, it was the summer, so probably like 7.5 or something, but I was relatively young, and England had gone 2-1 down to Cameroon. And I went to bed convinced that we were out of the World Cup.
Yeah.
And I cried myself to sleep. And then, genuinely. And then I woke up in the morning, and it was just all over the radio. And it was about how Gary Lineker had just done the unthinkable.
Yeah, it was, quite late on, wasn't it, as well, so obviously... I can relate to that story, but you go on. You finish first. Go on. It was,
and just like he'd scored these 2 penalties and just got us back in it, and we'd won. But I do remember crying myself to sleep, thinking that's it.
Yeah, I suppose that links quite nicely because obviously, say that was around the sort of time you became a Spurs fan as well. So the whole, because obviously it was quite a 2 integral parts of that team were Gary Lineker and Paul Gascoigne, who obviously were at Spurs. So I think it's. Yeah, I know what you mean, because to be honest, my when England got to the semi-finals of the Euros, obviously against Germany, my dad went out. I watched every game with him, but then he went out to the pub to watch the semi-final, which I'll never forgive him for, because my mum, bless her, like she was a football widow, but she didn't have the foggiest about football. She didn't have a clue about it. And I watched the first half. I mean, I probably shouldn't have been up necessarily that late, but I watched the first half, and then she sent me to bed. And this is like the semi-finals of the European Championships. And I got sent to bed. So I think it was one. Did Germany score in the second half? I can't remember off the top of my head. Either way, England went 1-0 up early, didn't they? So as far as I was concerned, we were going through and we would play whoever in the final. Woke up and obviously I missed the whole Gareth Southgate thing, everything. Never forgave him for that. It's amazing what you hold on to. Sorry, that was a bit of therapy there. I probably didn't need to share that, but it's
it's good. It's good to get it out.
But so obviously we've got up to the early 90s. So obviously, as you, the football fan. If we fast forward a little bit to sort of view the sort of player, what sort of player were you? What position did you play? I know you alluded to it earlier, but so I'm going to link it to something else later on in a minute if you don't mind. But
so I played 3 seasons, and as I said, like I'd never played proper organised football until this point. So when I turned up for training, the coach said to me, like, what position do you play? And I didn't have a clue because I'd never played organised football. So I said, well, I like to shoot, I like to score goals, and I'm not particularly quick, but I mean I was 30 in fairness, and not particularly fit, but I did get very fit playing football.
Right, yeah, very good.
But at that, that sort of first training session, I was a bit like, I shrug of the shoulders. And so then, in fairness to her, she watched me play. So I think in my mind, I was sort of thinking, I quite like shooting, but I don't want to be the striker. I didn't want to be the number 9. The pressure
If I'm honest, this
pressure.
goes against the glory hunting sort of thing that you'd imaged earlier. But
I think in my mind I was thinking like an 8 or a 10. And
okay, right, interesting.
But centrally, so that I could have the ball into my feet.
Yeah.
And then I could just, and you know why, actually, and it's only me thinking this through because you've asked me the question now. It's because that's the position I would play in hockey, where I'd play like centre half.
Oh, okay.
And it's the playmaker, you know,
Right.
it's the sort of dictate, it's the spraying the balls and like through balls and all of that. And I knew that position. I knew how to receive and turn.
So would you say you're more of a Christian Eriksen then of the
I mean,
footballing world?
know, like obviously, if this is what I always maintain with players that I coach now, I'm like, look, unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to play football when I was younger. Obviously, had I been coached from like 7 years old, I'd have played for my country.
Which could have been Italy or England, couldn't it really? In that sense, it could.
And no one can say that wouldn't have. Because
no, you can't. No, you can't. I agree. You can't argue with that at all. No, I think that's a fair comment. Okay, so that's quite interesting. And I'll sort of answer your question. Go on,
so that's what I wanted to. So that's sort of like the position I had in my mind, but I didn't probably have the confidence. I was just happy that someone was letting me come and play some football and not turning me away because I was a girl. So I was a bit like, I don't know. Anyway, and in fairness to her, after a few sessions, she was like, Ali, I've got your position. You're number 10.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, made up for it. And then started playing, and then played a few games and scored at least one goal.
Well, tell us about that really quickly. Go on, a quick side note. Talk us through what happened.
So I don't know if this was, because it's all a bit of a blur.
Right.
It's like 3 seasons merged into one. But I definitely know there was one goal that I scored from just outside the box where I did like top bins. It was.
So casual about it as well, Ali. So casual. Go on. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And I remember my teammates just coming over to me being like, but you've never played football before. And I'm like, well, I've played football before. I just haven't played this football before.
Yeah.
But so I used to like, you know, that position. And then what happened was the coach, who I have to say, because you never know, she might listen to this, but she was a great coach. And
again, I think you're overestimating what kind of people listen to this, but go on.
But you know, but I do owe her a lot in terms of like getting like sort of reigniting my love for football as a player, and then sort of inspiring me to go on and be a coach. But she did that thing that a lot of coaches do, where they are still able to play. She couldn't resist the urge. And she was like, I want to play, and she was a number 10.
Oh no!
So then what happened was I ended up on the left wing.
No, you got bombed. That is awful. I'm surprised you didn't organise it. I would not have had that. That is shocking. That is.
So I ended up on the left wing, and the problem with me on the wing is I've not really got any speed.
Right.
Well, I tell you what, I can get there. I can't get back.
Yeah,
so you either want me up there or you want me back, but don't expect me to do up that. I'm not a wing back, put it that way.
In the right system, that could work, I suppose, can it? Is that doable? I don't know. No, I think
I still used to cut in from the left and obviously score a goal.
Yeah, and put one in the top corner, as you sort of said. So I think that's fascinating on one hand, and also quite frankly downright awful that you got bombed for the manager and just got shoved out to. No, I'm joking. No, that's. No, fair play to you. Oh, okay. The reason I sort of asked that was I was sort of in that there seems to be, you know, if you know what I'm saying, in your sort of footballing CV, there's like a wilderness sort of period there between sort of being someone who played football loads at school and all of that, and you know, followed Spurs, etc. And then sort of Ali, you know, then becomes a football player, football coach a bit later on. Did you keep much, you know, because obviously you played, you know, you said what positions you played and stuff. Did you ever just like play a bit of a kick around before that, or were you just like literally nothing, or like all of it, then nothing, then back to all of it again almost?
So probably a bit of all of that. So effectively, I would play every day at school religiously at break time, to the point where it upset my female friends because I wouldn't sit in circles and talk about dolls or what. No, that's awful stuff.
Do you want me to cut that bit out later on?
I'm sorry, women in football. # women in football. I'm sorry, but no, like my friends genuinely, you know, at that age didn't really weren't really doing anything at playtime,
No,
and I
no.
wanted to be active. And it did upset them that I didn't used to sit and chat with them. But I did.
Yeah.
I played football every lunchtime. So I went from doing that to then not really playing it at secondary school, but definitely watching it as much as I could in terms of on TV whenever I could, like Match of the Day and all of that. I've pretty much always watched Match of the Day.
Yeah.
And I've always watched the major tournaments.
Right.
And so I always watched what I could, but I didn't really play much of it in secondary school. We did have an after-school football club for a period of time, but it didn't really go anywhere. And then, yes, there was definitely a massive gap, like at least a 3-year gap, 4-year gap when I was at university, where I didn't play at all. And my watching, like my viewing of it, was probably quite limited during that time as well. I might go to the pub every now and again with some of the lads to watch, FA Cup final or something like that. But I think at university would have been the time when I was definitely out in the wilderness.
No, the reason I sort of say that is I find it fascinating then, because obviously as one of the few times I'll be serious in this conversation is obviously what we spoke about, a few weeks ago about your sort of coaching thing, and then your coaching thing, sorry, I've really demeaned it, your coaching career, sorry, and obviously what even the way you went to sort of play football, scored goals in sort of top corner every other week and that kind of thing. And I think it's but I think that's a testament to probably you as a person, actually, an inspiration to other people, and maybe there are people listening to this, or we can try and get it out to people who maybe think that it's too late to start playing football or something like that, and get involved in football. So I know it's a bit of a slightly serious point, but actually I think that's a massive, and that's the sort of reason I wanted to highlight that, is that, you hear so many stories, maybe similar to myself, who, you just play football until you get injured and then you can't play anymore. And actually that's not everybody's journey into football. There's so many different routes.
And
I think
you're
that's
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like, it is never too late. It is never too late. And even now, like, I joke, but even now I don't think I could play walking football, for the pure reason because it's hard. It's really difficult. So first of all, to fight the urge to run, I just can't. But also, like, tactically, like strategically, you have got to be switched on. Yeah. Because you can't run. So you have to, there's no mistakes. Your first touch is everything. Like,
I'll be honest, because
people take the mickey out of it, but if you try and play walking football, you understand.
That would quite. To be honest, though,
starting to reach an age where walking football might.
No, don't say that. No. I think it's I think it's quite difficult. Although, to be honest, even when I was playing football properly, I sort of played at a walking pace, so I was quite. That was No, I was a meathead centre half.
Close to when you needed to be.
Well, no, the thing was, it was anything in behind me, and I was done for. That was it. So I sort of I didn't even bother chasing. Yeah, it was, honestly. I'd be too high up the pitch, and it'd be like, oh no, not again. So it'd be a bit like I wouldn't even bother chasing it, because I thought I'm flogging a dead horse with this. I've got no chance of getting back. But no, I'm joking. But no, I think that's it is that. There's so many roots into the game now. I think that's something that is a fantastic thing. But anyway, back to you. We've sort of digressed on to sort of talking about the FA and that there. So in terms of, before we go into your favourite ever football match, just in terms of being a Spurs fan and maybe your current assessment of them now. Obviously, we're recording this just before Christmas, so there might be a few. Who knows what happens in a few weeks in Premier League football? But sort of at the minute, how do you sort of see Spurs in terms of where they are currently? Are you a bit worried? Are you happy with where everything is? Do you know what I mean? Like, was last year just a massive overachievement, or are you a bit disappointed that they haven't quite reached maybe the same heights as that? So I've asked you about 85 questions. I'm so sorry.
I was like, where to start?
Let's just talk about Spurs, what I'm saying.
My friend, because obviously we had the Champions League draw, and my friend in the old Spurs chat was like, we're going to win the Champions League, lads. We're going to do it. We're actually going to do it this year. Now, dare to dream. Like, let's hope that we can.
So, Ali, let's get to the point while you're sort of really here, which is to talk about your favourite ever football matches. Now, I've gone plural there, because normally we only give people sort of one match, but given the experience you have in the variety of different spheres of football, if there's any sort of football matches that stand out for you as a player, as a coach, and as a football fan, really,
obviously in terms of the details, don't worry too much about it if you don't remember scores and stuff. What we try and get in, sort of tap into a bit more is like the emotions that come attached to it. You know what I mean? So yeah, just tell us about it. I don't mind which order you want to do it in, whether you do it as a player, as a coach, or a fan, in whichever order you want to do, really. So yeah, just tell us about your favourite ever football matches.
Yeah, I mean, and as you say, like, football is an emotional sport, and sometimes it's kind of a bit funny how that kind of it can be all consuming, can't it? And I hate and I'm sure there's lots of football fans that will agree with me. I hate a Saturday 12:30 kickoff for Spurs, for my team that I support, because it makes or breaks your weekend. Because if they win, you're buzzing. But if they lose, like, you've still got the rest of the week. Like, you're not interested in match of the day on a Saturday night. Like, it just kills it.
Oh, it does, yeah. I always record it, and then the moment, which happens quite a lot recently, I see West Ham get a thumping, so I end up sort of deleting it. So it does. I don't even watch it. Have you ever tried to watch it without knowing the scores, by the way? Just because I was talking about this at work the other day, and people look at me like I had two heads, as if that's just the most unholy thing to do. But because I don't have Sky Sports or anything, occasionally, if I don't know,
you know what,
I'll try and get to like Sunday morning or something without watching it, and then go on. Sorry, you're going to say.
In the age of like mobile phones and like instant information, I find it hard to avoid the scores, because I am addicted to my phone. I am one of those people. So I'm either on Twitter or I'm on BBC Sport or another football app I've got that tells me all the football scores. So I always sort of, because I'm looking out for Spurs all the time, because if I'm not watching, then I'm listening. But if I can't do that for whatever reason, usually coaching, then I will just like get the update on my phone. And the worst thing is that I get 3 separate updates for Tottenham from 3 different apps.
No.
So when we score, it's amazing, because my phone just keeps vibrating and telling me that Harry Kane is amazing, which I already know.
Kane's your battery, though, to be fair. But yeah.
And then, but then if we've conceded, I'm like, I know we're losing. Shut up, phone. But yeah, so very rarely will I watch Match of the Day not knowing. I'll never be able to watch it not knowing the Spurs score. Very rarely will I watch it not knowing any of the scores. I'll usually have an idea if the team has won or lost, even if I can't remember the exact score. But my brother often tried to do that. He would often watch it. And not know.
I think I just like that element of surprise. Like even the FA Cup draw, I always cover up the numbers. So as they come out, I would put like a jumper. It's really sad. I'm not really painting a good picture of myself here, but I like to cover up the numbers. So when the numbers come out, I have no idea who's who until it appears on the bottom. It's quite, because otherwise what happens is you see 42 and then you sort of look to the left and you miss the whole sort of thing that goes with it, because you're trying to find out, 42 is Bournemouth or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So, but sorry, Ali, back to your favourite game. We sort of digressed, sorry.
So, well, seeing as I've chatted about Spurs, let's start with me as a fan.
Go for it.
So, I think I have to go, because my memory's not the best, to be honest. So I think, to be honest, I would have to go with the Ajax 2, Tottenham 3.
Yeah.
In the Champions League. And I know that's a bit of an obvious one. I can hear the groans already.
But you could have gone,
but
City was just as good a game, you know what I mean? There was quite a few you could have chosen, weren't there?
Yeah, but it is different, because I tell you why. I didn't see any of it. I had to listen to it.
Oh, okay.
Now, there is nothing more painful than listening to football on the radio.
I do know what you mean. It's difficult, because you try and mentally picture it, but you're never going to be accurate, are you, when you listen to it on the radio?
But also, like, the thing is that because they sort of have to, because it's part and parcel, and in a way I do love it, but because they sort of have to, commentators on the radio just get really excited and scream about everything, and then actually all that's happened is it's gone out for a throw.
It is.
And you're like, oh my God, and you can't breathe.
You get put through the mill, don't you?
Yeah, and so imagine then that game being described via the radio. It was unbearable, but ultimately amazing. But it was just intense. And I know that because there were then a lot of memes and stuff going around about how, I mean, just generally last season, like Tottenham's Champions League run was a fairy tale. And it's, in a way, it's a shame that they didn't go on to win it, because that is the Amazon documentary that we all wanted to see.
Yeah, to be honest, I think. Go on.
But but you know, it was a roller coaster, and I know that lots of stuff went around on Twitter and the internet stuff about how, you know, watching Spurs is like not good for your heart, and you know, everyone feels like they're having heart attacks and stuff. But honestly, try listening to it, because it was painful. It was so painful, but like I said, ultimately it is a very good memory, and it's one of my favourite games, because it was just, everyone loves a comeback, and like I said, it was so unexpected of them.
That's the thing.
To do that. Like, we're Spursy, we don't do that.
No,
we should never have got that far, let alone won that game.
If you don't mind me saying, what adds to it was the fact that probably going into it, even though I agree what you're saying about the whole sort of Spursy thing, is no one really gave Ajax much of a chance. Not didn't give much of a chance, but do you know what I mean? They were probably underdogs going in, so it was the one time that Spurs could go in
the ones to make the comeback. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and it just, I think what I loved about that game is it just completely flipped everything you probably know about football on its head for the best part of 15 minutes. That, you know, that whole sort of period, it just flipped football. Everything you know about it, you know, everything just went out the window for that last part of the game, didn't it? So I think it's.
And so not only was I listening to this like hysteria on the radio, but I was also having people WhatsApp me.
Yeah.
And if you listen to football on the radio, you will also know that it's usually a little bit delayed.
Oh gosh, that's the worst, isn't it? Yeah, that is a
so
nightmare.
So I was getting all these messages, and I was like, "What's happening?" And so I remember someone messaging and being like, Poch is on the pitch. He's on the floor. He's on the ground." And I'd be like, "What?" I don't understand what's happening. Like, why is... And you know, it was obviously because he thought that when the goal went in, the third goal, he thought it was full time.
Right.
And so it was a bit like, they're all on the pitch. They think it's all over, but it wasn't. And so that was quite funny as well. But I couldn't see any of this, so I was just like, "What?" And the commentators, bless them, they were doing their best, but because they were so shocked by what they'd witnessed, they were sort of struggling to describe it. And so nothing was really being narrated.
It's just sort of a garble of noise, isn't it, almost?
Tell me.
Yeah.
I need you to tell me what's happening. So it's like a really fond memory, but it's just quite like an amusing one as well. Of me.
Yeah, of course.
Is this true? Can I believe it? No. The other thing was my brother, had gone to the pub. So this is another reason why this is a good game to talk about for me, because it tells you about me as a fan. I find it very difficult since I've become a coach and I've like understood the game better than I used to. I can totally, especially if I'm watching Spurs, I can switch off my coaching brain and just watch it as a fan. But I find it very difficult if there's people around me who are chatting absolute biscuits.
Right, okay.
So
you can tell you were the kids with that one comment alone. The fact that you swapped in biscuits for another word, but yeah, go on.
But if there's people like chatting nonsense, I can't be around them. And it really wound me up during the Men's World Cup in 2018, where this guy sat behind me. Like, I didn't know him, and he was just like giving Dele Alli all game, you're rubbish, you're rubbish, you're rubbish, you're rubbish, you're rubbish. And then Dele Alli obviously pops up with a header.
Yeah.
Scores. But so he'd basically been saying that he was fucking useless. That's what this guy kept saying. What? Dele Alli, fucking useless. And I was thinking, probably more useful than you at this stage.
That South East London accent come out a bit then, didn't it? So
yeah. And then Dele scored, and I just turned around to him and I went, "Oh, he's fucking useless, isn't he, that Dele?" Because I can't help myself.
No, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that, though. You know, I think that's what it's about, isn't it, in that sense?
Yeah. So to be honest, like, I really, since that World Cup, I don't think I've watched anything. I've maybe watched one or two games in the pub. Also, the pub round the corner for me, there's this really annoying Arsenal fan, and he's in there.
Oh no! Don't let him put you off going there. Oh no, that's not.
Without fail, he's there. I don't even think he goes to watch Arsenal games. I mean, why would you? But
no, that's a good point. I think we could be united on that front, in fairness.
Like, he literally only turns up to watch the Tottenham games, to give Tottenham fans grief. And I was just, I can't be doing with it.
Sort of sums them up as a bit of a club, really, in general, doesn't it? But anyway, yeah, that's another story for another time.
It's a different podcast.
Yeah,
but yeah, so I've sort of given up going to the pub. So I was listening to this game on the radio, and my brother was in the pub round the corner, and he's phoned me, and he's like, "Oh my God!" Da, da, da. And then I just start crying. I just burst into
Oh, really?
because of that emotion. So I didn't, because the thing is, I know for a fact, if I'd been watching it and I'd seen Poch, I'd have been gone. I'd have been crying from early. But I couldn't see any of that. But I went anyway, because I was just like, this doesn't happen. I've supported Tottenham since I was 8 years old. Like, yes, they've won the odd cup, but
Worthington Cup, if I remember, at one point. But yeah, that's quite.
This sort of, that spirit, that fight, that sort of coming back from when you think all is lost. Like, we're Spursy, we don't do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We do Spursy things where we should win and we lose, and
you
we're winning and then we still lose anyway, and that kind of thing.
Get beat by West Ham and then blow the league and that sort of thing. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's
lasagna gate.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, just all that jazz.
Yeah,
and
no, I know what you mean.
And I think, you know, the emotion just sort of, and then everyone comes out, there'll be a DVD about how you nearly won the Champions League. It's like, yeah, great, I'd watch it, because it was a
It was some game.
Decided to do Saturday Night Fever in the box for some reason.
Well, do you know what? It was quite ironic, because I watched that game. This is my little two pennies worth in there. I watched that game, but I was also, I was at a different club coaching. And then my mate wanted me to come and help him coach this year, which we spoke about in that other episode. But I went to go and watch one of their games towards the end of the season. And so I was sat in the clubhouse watching the Spurs game and watching his game outside. And that game he was in was, I think they were 3-2 up and it finished 5-5. And then you had and they both kicked off at the same time. And then you had obviously the climax of that Spurs game. It was probably the most surreal evening of football I've ever seen. So I'd seen like 10 goals on this like completely sort of non-league, you know, one of those like really tiny non-league grounds. You've got a stand that fits about 10 people. And then sat in the clubhouse watching that as well. It was just like this insane amount of goals, and possibly the worst evening of defending I'd ever seen. But it was quite quite exciting at the same time. You know what I mean? So
it's so funny.
But yeah.
But and also, didn't that follow the Barcelona Liverpool game? Where,
do you know what? You'll obviously laugh at this, but especially being a West Ham fan, I don't watch loads of Champions League football. So so if I'm honest,
I hate the music. I'm not interested.
It bores me. It does bore me, because to be honest, as much as West Ham are pretty shite at the moment, I've
got a feeling that was the following night. Like,
it normally would be. See, I'm not much of a statter on that sort of thing, but I think it's.
I think that the sort of amazing Liverpool comeback where Trent did his quick, very clever corner and all that game, I think that was the Tuesday night. Yeah. And we were on the Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And so I think that was what was amazing about it as well, is that everyone was still going on about the Liverpool game because it was this amazing thing, and then no one had ever seen anything like it in football. And then Spurs were like, hold my beer.
Yeah, it was actually that week. You're right. It was incredible. It must have been that week. I'm sure it was. I think I did it.
I'm sure it happened. I'm sure
like
the Liverpool game was the night before, and then Spurs followed. But I also know that there are thousands of people who will correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think
so. I might be wrong, but I'm sure.
To be honest, if people do, you do want to say sort of get out a bit more. All right, you can see the passion of what we're trying to say, if nothing else. But I think it was an incredible week of football. But yeah. No, so just moving on then, obviously that was a fascinating game to that. In terms of like as a player or as a coach, is there anything that sort of stands out, or was just the whole experience amazing from beginning to end, if that makes sense?
I mean, obviously I've talked to you about top bins. So.
Well, yeah, I think we've probably covered that one. No, I'm joking. No. I'd happily hear about that goal again. There's nothing, you can never get bored of hearing about a postage stamp finish, to be fair. So
I think one of my favourite games actually as a player was we played, I think we played like Evanfield Town Reserves or someone. I don't know. Right. We had to go, it was an away game, and we were a South of London team, and we had to go north, and it just felt like we'd gone to the ends of the earth. And we all got nosebleeds. And I think it was I think it was a cup fixture or something, because it must have been, because it wasn't in our area. But anyway, we travelled for this game, and the weather was miserable. Yeah. Like hailstones, miserable. And the pitch was classic Sunday League. So like you couldn't actually see the centre circle because it was just a puddle.
Right, yeah. No, that sounds like my type of game, actually, but go on.
Yeah, and it was just like, everything about it was like pretty horrific. And I was marking this girl, and she looked about 12. So I just sort of said to her, just out of interest, how old are you? And she was like 18, and I was like, okay.
It's like you're a doorman on a pub somewhere. Like,
but I'm, do you know what I mean? I'm your mum. But I must have been 32. And I was just like, how am I marking an 18-year-old?
I mean, we did say favourite game, not most sort of...
No, I'm building it up. I'm setting the scene. It's fine.
Go on.
And I'm not, and I just want to make a point there, because we had a player who played for us who was in her 40s, and she's the fittest person I've ever known in my life. So I'm not saying that you reach a certain age and therefore you're done for. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just talking about my ability to sprint. Yeah. And anyway, I just sort of tricked her, and I'm not necessarily proud of this, but basically I sort of said to her, oh, I'm in my 30s, and she was like, no, you're not. And I was like, well, I am. And I led her to believe that like I had nothing in my locker, right? And then obviously I did.
You give it your rope-a-dope.
So one of my sort of favourite memories was basically we won the ball back like in our defensive third, and then we were working it up the pitch, which involved me literally having to jump over this puddle as it was being played down the right, and I was more central, and I was jumping over this puddle, and I came in from the left and scored. And the fact is, you know what? It went off my shin pad. I'm going to be honest.
But no one needs to know that. They know now. But
it was on the volley.
Oh no, that's a different story. Yeah.
So, and it was amazing.
So be honest with me, Ali. Did you then go past this 14-year-old or whatever she was?
I just did the little. Well, the thing is,
give a little wink or a little sort of fist pump or that as you went past.
My celebration in general, and I don't know where it came from, because who was watching me play? No one. But my celebration in general just tended to be like the finger wag. You know, where you sort of like, you're telling the fans, you know who I am.
Oh,
no one knows
who I am,
but you know who I am.
Yeah.
So I was giving it all that, because it was like, I don't know if anyone else feels like that about goal celebrations, but it's a bit like the old Alan Shearer. Do you know what I mean? It's just involuntary. I don't think there are certain celebrations that obviously players think up in advance and blah, blah, blah. But there are some that players just do consistently because it is just instinctive.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And for whatever reason, that was mine. I've made myself sound like a great person now. But,
no. I mean, I don't want to say that you were sort of gloating to a 14-year-old, but that's not quite the full story. But no, I'm joking about that. The reason that is my favourite game isn't because I scored a goal off my shooting pad. It's because we were actually a player down for the whole game. So we had 10 players the whole game, and we still won. Won. And especially in those conditions, it's quite
the elements. And
exactly, it's so satisfying when you win.
It just sort of summed up Sunday League as well, whereby like it is what it is, but you all get on with it and you make the best of it.
Do you know what? I think that's. I think you've summed up too. You've sort of gone from the sublime to the other end of the sort of spectrum with those two great games.
It's like Instagram, real life.
No, I mean, but that's what it is, isn't it? That's what football is, and I think we sort of we have not a mantra. That's the wrong word. We have a little sort of tagline where we sort of say football is for everyone, and I think that your two games sort of sum that up. Really, you've got the elite level of the game where you have 5 minutes of absolute chaos, and then you've got the other end where you're playing with 10 men on a pitch that you could probably swim on, and do you know what I mean? You're playing against a 12-year-old kid, so I think that's sort of it sums up really what it is about being.
The belief in both, that like you have to come back, like you've got to dig in deep,
and that's exactly it.
If you don't give up, all is possible.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think what that highlights is the like you say, the passion you need and the determination for both. And actually, there's the feelings, the emotions, the skill set almost is very similar. To be honest, I think in terms of the coaching one, Ali, what we'll do is as a little teaser. I think what we'll do is we'll get you because it'd be great to get you to come back on throughout the season anyway. We'll hold fire on that one. And we'll bring you back to obviously talk about that kind of stuff. Another date. I think that'd be brilliant, actually. So So it just leaves me to say, Ali, that, you know, like, that was genuinely one of the most fun episodes that we've done on this series. I'm not casting aspersions on the other people who've been on there, but this has genuinely been brilliant. Thank you so much for doing it. Just really quickly, and obviously if people want to get in contact or follow you, and, you know, we've had a more serious discussion in our coaching episode as well. So if people wanted to get in contact with you in that, where can they sort of find you? I know you said you sort of on your phone a bit, so, you know, where's the best place to follow you?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on Twitter as Coach Ali. I think I have to put a couple of underscores in it.
Yeah, I've got it
someone
here.
else nicked Coach Ali.
Oh, did they? Oh, the
They
swines.
They didn't know that there's only one Ali Speechley. So
so I've got it as @_Coach Ali _. Is that right? Does that sound right?
Yes. So
Right.
that's me on Twitter. I am on Instagram as well. I can't remember what that is, but
That'll
I
probably
can
be on your Twitter
give
somewhere,
it to
won't it?
you, and then
Yeah, I'll put it in
Twitter's
the
probably most useful for people because they can
Yeah.
then message, like they can DM me if they so wish.
Yeah, I'll put that on the description bit, you know, your Instagram, whatever, and that as well. So yeah, no, do you know what? You've been an absolute superstar and a great guest to have on.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.